Hello everyone, this is Ren the Bird Tamer coming with another video. I've actually really wanted to cover this season for a while, however I was not able to get to it until now. Kind of biting at the bit here. Obviously it's going to be awesome, but there will be spoiler warnings because this one has basket loads of spoilers, and this episode of the season is way too good to spoil, so I would suggest going back and watching all the rest of My Hero and then coming back to this, because that would be very wise, and I would not want to spoil anybody. And with the spoilers out of the way, let's get on with the video here. Sorry. So we start up at the Liberation Front's hideout. Shigaraki, who no longer is the spoiled, impatient child that we used to know, but actually sort of scary. And he's got this throne and he's sitting on it, of course. And he has his little minions, or his captains, on either side. And aka the League of Villains, because they formed excuse me, they formed a whole alliance to sorry, I can't talk today. To review a little bit. Yep, so there's a speech going on, and of course, as the story progresses, there are fewer and fewer heroes around, so the villains just kind of slink out of every corner and nook and cranny that you can think of, and they all gravitate toward the Freedom Front, because they all wish to kind of, get revenge, or they actually sympathize with Hero Killer Stain, or it could just be pure fashioned, chaotic joy of murdering innocents, which is seriously not cool. Yeah. So, a bunch of villains everywhere, destroying people. Sorry for the pauses. We're doing okay. So, so Hawks is still in the hideout. He has managed to successfully infiltrate it and gather very, very valuable information. And, this is serious. It's supposed to be serious and not funny, but, off topic. You can just kind of imagine him kind of sneaking around, and the Mission Impossible song's going on. Da-na-na, da-na-na. It kind of feels like a Mission Impossible. Sorry. Just a side thought, not completely serious. So he's been risking his life for all the vital information that they need. So he's practically a double agent, because he also gives the villains information, but it's all fake, so that so they can't hurt the rest of the heroes. Okay, so Hawks has already warned Endeavor about the Front's movements through a code in a book that he managed to slip to him before leaving. And I can't remember if it was like the very last season before this, but it's either that or the season before. But then again, I think it's probably the second one to this one, obviously. Like, why would it be farther in? Doy? So thanks to the Wing Hero's bravery, they get a whole bunch of information that will be very useful for later. And, most of the villains sort of seem to trust Hawks, and Twice seems to be very buddy-buddy with him. And it's kind of sweet watching them kind of hang out together, as buddies. And it's just so tragic that Hawks is going to have to abandon Twice and actually betray him, because, obviously, he's a double agent. Sorry. But yeah, when the time comes, it's just Twice is like taken aback, and he's like, "You're with the good guys this whole time?" And Hawks is like, "Yeah," but he's not proud about it or even happy about it for that matter. In fact, the number 2 actually sees good in Twice still. So, wanting to save what was left of him, he offers the choice to come quietly, repent, and then, wash his hands of the whole thing. But, I mean, I have to admit, Twice's loyalty is very impressive, and we gotta respect that. But it's the wrong choice, and Hawks had to fight him, and it was so brutal and sad, and he finally shanks him with the feather sword. And then, of course, the worst possible scenario happens when old Dobbs shows up with... I'm so sorry, we have gotten clicked off of that. Give me a minute. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Misclicked. So, Dobby pops out of nowhere looking all freaky with the blue flames, which are freaking amazing, and starts to beat up on Hawks, saying he's never trusted him at all. He had a feeling that Hawks was a double agent, which is not very good, when you get found out. But yeah, Dobby never ever trusted him. It's good not to trust easily, but this is not really good for Hawks here. Because, his weakness is fire. So, yep, sorry, I lost my place for a minute. Okay, so Dobby's just beating the crap out of Hawks, burning his wings and just throwing him around, and blood's going everywhere, and that's a little bit too much of a description, so I'll just say the poor bird got his wings snipped. So, yeah. Right. So around that time, every available hero has been flocking to the scene. Probably should have mentioned that, the whole siege going on there as well. Basically, the base is in a hospital, which means they had to evacuate, blah, blah, blah. So every hero available is fighting like mad, dodging things, getting around, getting thrown around quite a bit themselves. Even the top 10 have serious problems with all the Nomu and experiments nutso scientists just had to pump out and conceive. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that they finally caught him. I mean, it's just like, bro, this guy is dangerous. But, yeah. Sorry, I lost my place again. So the city is getting completely evacuated. And certain Class A students are actually in the front lines, while the rest are gone, Tokonami and Dekugo. God, that sounds like a ship, which actually would be a great name for it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted again. That's actually, not my cup of tea, but it's an okay ship. Yeah, so Bakugo and Deku are in the front lines with Tokoyami because of their quirks are more, powerful and long range. But yeah, so as they are running around trying to evacuate the civilians, Tsukunami sees this blue flame just erupt from this building that they are running past. And, I mean, he's like, crap, because he knows Dobby's up there because it's the blue flames. And Hawks has not checked in with them in a while, so he's like, crap, he's probably in trouble. So, being the badass that Tsukunami is, he goes in alone, soloing this whole rescue trip, and it's just crazy. He's seriously brave. And he just goes in there, guns blazing, although it's more like shadows blazing, but, yeah. Should have summarized this down a little bit more. Okay, so yeah, Tokonami goes after his mentor, and his premonitions are correct. Hawks is in terrible trouble. He's beat up and bleeding. His wings are completely burned away. And Dobby is like, oh, hey there, buddy, it's another one. I'm gonna kill you now. So Tsukunami, who's crying because his mentor has beat the frick up, it just grabs him and runs as fast as he can and manages to get away from Dobby. But, he's crying the whole time carrying Hawks back. because Dabi accused him of murdering twice, and he's like, that's not a hero thing. But, Tsukunami just completely trusts his mentor, and he does not believe a word. And he says, you're a good person, Hawks. Please don't die on me. And he's just crying this whole time, and it's just making me tear up. It's happening even now, because that was just such a beautiful moment. And they have, like, a serious bond. That's very, very cute. And it's kind of funny, like, later on, I'm going to just say this now because I find it hilarious, but, like, later on, Tsukunami, it's like, have you guys heard from Hawks yet? I kind of want to talk to him, because the last time the poor trainee saw him was pretty beat up, and he left him. But yeah, he left him in good hands, and then runs back to join the fight here. Okay. So the Freedom Front, by that time, have released Giant Machia. Excuse me if my events are a little scrambled, but it's a lot to take in and process. So, Giant Machia is sent in to destroy what's left of the pretty much decimated hospital, and the buildings around them are just, scorched and rumbling and falling down. Then there's just like a bunch of knocked out heroes, and I'm so glad that Sun Eater and Gummy made it. I love those two, but they had me seriously worried in that one shot. I'm like, oh crap, I think they might be dead. But, yeah. So the battle's going on. Giant Machia is just crashing through everything and attempting to rampage and destroy the city more. And so Midnight, Mount Lady, and the rest of Class A come into this situation. And Midnight orders them to try and stop Giant Machia no matter how or, like what way, even if it's kind of dirty. And Class A, of course, agrees, because it's a direct order from a pro. And they start to work on it. Momo creates a whole bunch of these very, very heavy tranquilizer liquids they have in bottles. But unfortunately for them, Giant Machia is just way too freaking strong. So they had to, pin him down, which didn't work. But, so they all tried to take him out. Even Mount Lady tried to keep his mouth open, but they all wasted them except for two. And Mina, who is, gotten a lot of character development, too, just gets really, really brave. She grabs it, and she tries to get it into his mouth. And she also fails, gets knocked down. She's not knocked out, but she's kind of hurt, which ticks off Kirishima, and he just climbs up Gigantomachia with his claws, and he's just furious. Doesn't want his friends to get hurt anymore. So he uses one, and then he throws the other when the giant wasn't... He takes it by surprise. Well, the giant didn't have his mouth closed, and it got in. And then they're waiting with bated breath. However, they're not able to. He's just way too strong. Yeah. Alright, catching on here. So yeah, Kirishima just rashly climbs up there and shoves it in his mouth, attempting to stop him. And they do get some in, but they watch Gigantomachia, and he shows no signs of getting sleepy or slowing down. And my this is like a side thing here. My theory is that he's just built so strong, and he's probably just very resistant to it because he's so big as well. It would have taken more than just one shot to get him, so most likely it just went through his veins when he was moving around. So yeah, it does eventually take him down, but it takes a while. In the meantime, of course. The A students that are left behind are a little bit uneasy because Midnight has stopped talking to them. And it's because, oh God, this hurts so much. So it's because while she was talking to them, she was fighting some more bad guys. And there's suddenly this chunk of concrete they just throw at her. And she's not able to dodge, and she takes full force. So, yeah, the R-rated hero is kind of in the corner herself. She's already wounded, and the last transmission she sends is to just be brave, don't give up. and just keep doing what you can do. And then she's killed, like right after that pep talk into Momo's ear, and it's awful. Like, Momo probably didn't realize that was the last words that Midnight would ever say to her. And it's just, it really, really hurts when it's a character that's very, very close to everyone. And one of the golden rules is do not get attached, but it's so hard. I mean, yeah, it's difficult. They're all awesome characters, and you're just like, oh crap. But yeah. So poor Midnight is killed, unknowns to everyone else. It has made Class A a little uncomfortable, and meanwhile, Deku and Gran Torino and Bakugo are off on a different mission here. Originally, they were supposed to be protected because, obviously Deku has one for all, and only Bakugo was the only other one besides the two that knew about it. That's probably why they're trying to protect him. Although, I mean, the cat's out of the bag now, or should I say the power is out of the bag now. Because it was necessary. They had to tell them what was going on. Otherwise, letting them fighting blind would have been really, really bad. But yeah, Bakugo's being a great backup. And I just love what he says, when earlier before they get Deku back. And he's just like, I've always hated him because I felt insufficient. And I just wanted to prove myself. And this is like the first time I've ever heard Bakugo be so open and just not yell and be angry and just be angry all the time. And this shocked me. Like, this development is what I live for when I watch anime. And all of them have amazing character developments. They're way stronger. They're not weak. And they're not as, nervous as some people. Like, Mina and Uraraka seem to be a lot more withdrawn, but now they're just way more outgoing, and it's awesome. But yeah, Bakugo's story changes are very welcome, because I actually think he's an okay guy when he's not yelling. And as for his hero name, they should just call him Death Grenade. It's short and it's not as long. And, I mean, side note, I couldn't stop laughing my tail off when Best Jeanist asked his protege what his name was, and then Bakugo tells him, and he's like, it's too long, and he falls over. Or does he fall over? I can't remember. It seems like he falls over. But yeah, Best Jeanist is a really great hero too. Getting sidetracked again, but I did find it very cute that that he was trying to bond with Bakugo and like snipped his hair, and Bakugo's like, are you serious? But yeah, anyway, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. Okay, supposed to be protected. Right, and because of the fight, they had to tell everyone Deku's true power and the real source. Phew. Okay, so more fighting back and forth. And then finally the villains retreat because Shigaraki, who was released way too early, was just kind of busted up and kind of malfunctioning, whatever you want to call it. And the villains retreat, and the heroes regroup, but it's pretty bad. I think they lost like most of their top heroes, except for the bunny. Except for the bunny, Endeavor. They still have Ryu, or I think they still have her. But yeah, it's just like 3, 4, or 5 of the like big, strong heroes left, and that's just a testament to how strong these enemies are. And whew, it's gonna be a hell of a fight, that is for sure. So yeah, they recover the dead, and Midnight's one of them. And Class A unfortunately finds her first, and it's really, really sad. Rosie is just like, how? And Mina's just crying and trying to revive her, shaking her hand, and she's ice cold. There's no saving her. It's just so sad. I mean, they all loved her. They were all attached to her, and I unfortunately got attached to her as well. She was just this great, crazy lady, always making some silly jokes and whatever. And she truly did care for them, and she died a very heroic death, trying to encourage Momo even though she was about to die. So, yeah, Midnight is amazing, and she died heroically, definitely. Yeah, so Class A are very, very upset about it. And, like, the whole fight thing is bad. It's just bitter, no satisfaction that came from it. Like, both sides lost way too many people. And given the heroes, yes, so sorry. A bit after the fight, the dust clears and the heroes regroup, but the damage has been done, and like almost no one trusts the heroes anymore. It's gotten so bad, in fact, that so many heroes have just completely given up and just resigned because of the pressure of what's going on. And the heroes have technically become the bad guys because apparently they weren't fast enough or they couldn't save someone, and it's bad and just a lot of unrest. Deku chooses to go off and try to take care of the pain himself, the root of the pain, and excuse me, he only takes All Might, Endeavor, and Hawks with him, and they all try to just do a more of a vigilante sort of thing where where Deku goes and saves a lot of people. He takes care of a lot of jailbirds, gets them back into prison, and he keeps fighting and occasionally stopping to get food and recover, but because he doesn't really let his body rest too long, he will overheat. And then by the time that he gets to this excuse me, that's a bad one. I'm sorry. Yeah, it kind of throws me off. My apologies. Yeah, so Deku does all this, and before he goes nutso and looking like a demon rabbit, because we have not been taking care of his flippin' uniform, he comes in between these people or policemen that are harassing this poor girl who just got scared from the alarms, and she was very late to evacuate, and they attacked her because they thought she was a villain. And Deku bravely jumps in between them. He's like, "Let me handle her. It's okay. She's not bad." And they back off, and she introduced herself. Ippon, I believe it's Ippon Shozi. Yeah, Ippon, like Ippon or like Ip in a pan. Why are these names so hard to pronounce? I'll just call her Ippa or something, like, for short, because her name's kind of hard to pronounce. Yeah, so she had gotten spooked, and thanks to Deku, they had left her alone. And he made sure she was alright before he left. And they get to see each other again once UA just bands together and forces Deku back. And yeah, and then there's still a lot of unrest. They've taken a lot of right, there's Uraraka's speech because everyone's so uncomfortable. Best Jeanist and Mike do their best, but they just cannot calm them down. And they're unrest, and they're just, even inside of UA, they're just not comfortable, and the heroes are on edge as well, and everyone's just having a stare down. And Uraraka, one of the shyest people, you could ever meet, just grabs the mic from Present Mike and just runs and just floats herself up onto the building. And the speech that she made just was beautiful. It's just like, hey, we are doing our best. We're only human, and we will do our best to protect you, but you have to trust us. I can't guarantee that things will go better or worse, but I can guarantee we at least we'll be here for you, something like that. And then she's like looking at Deku and she's saying, he is a wonderful person. He's just a high school student. Doesn't mean he's special because he has power. And they're starting to realize that heroes are just human as well. And finally, the time they've been waiting for, like Principal Nezu is just watching, and it's working. Because Koda just shoots out of the crowd like a little lightning bolt, and he's running to Deku, and Ippon's not too far behind. And you can probably call this like a reverse hero, where they see the heroes are beaten and they need support and love, and they just ran. Like, you should have seen how fast they ran. They were running like crazy. And then they're the first to get there, and Kota, who's been looking up to Deku ever since he was saved by him and had his faith in heroes restored. And Ippon, of course, was the girl he saved recently, and I believe that without those two, it probably would have gotten way worse despite Uraraka's speech. Yeah, because if they didn't run to him, no one probably would have. But yeah, it was beautiful. Kota said, it's okay, you don't have to cry anymore, it's okay. And Ippa just picks him up and squeezes the crap out of him, and it's just so sweet. And the pro heroes are just watching in awe as a trainee gets through to the uneasy civilians. And the rest of them come forward, after Deku promises to make everything better, and the umbrella guy is just really nice. And when the other three, the other pros walk in, and they're just like, oh my gosh, they actually did it. Yep, and then, of course, Hawks has got this big old wild smile, and I'm just like, man, I miss that smile, because he's almost always positive, and now if he's one that's not smiling, things are in trouble. But, yeah, it just ends in a really sweet note, and thanks to the first two that ran into him, everyone else followed. And it's a good season and all. A lot happens, and it's very sad. And I haven't covered everything because there is a heck of a lot in there. I just kind of wrote down the things that I thought were important. Yep. So, that's pretty much my thoughts on 7. You probably were going to ask, why didn't I just review the rest of them? But it's just like, these were more interesting than the first episodes, and that's why I did not cover them. I can rewatch and cover them if you wish. I have no trouble with that. Also, I may be putting out a Hero Killer Stained video, what I think about his philosophies and stuff. But yeah, that's about it. Ren the Bird Tamer out.